When it comes to through real, lasting, undeniable breakthrough, there's something powerful about the words that come out of your mouth. Most people underestimate just how much influence their voice carries. They pray quietly in their minds, they wish things would change, and they hope for a better future. But transformation doesn't respond to silence. It responds to sound, and more specifically, to sound wrapped in faith. The words you speak hold the keys to the doors you've been waiting to open. It's not just about believing something good can happen. It's about declaring it boldly, daily, out loud. You see, your voice carries authority. Not because you're perfect or have it all together, but because there's something supernatural that happens when you take ownership of your words. When you stop saying things like, "I'm broke," "I'll never get out of this," "money is always tight," and instead start declaring abundance, provision, and increase, even before you see a single dollar come and everything begins to shift. Not because circumstances have changed yet, but because you have changed. And when you change on the inside, the outside always follows. Too often, people speak defeat and then wonder why their life feels heavy. They speak lack and wonder why opportunities pass them by. Words are like seeds. You plant them with your mouth, and in time they grow into the environment you live in. So if you've been planting words of fear, doubt, and lack, it's time to uproot those seeds and start speaking words that build, words that create, words that attract favor. This is why it's so important to declare something powerful every single day. You don't need to be loud. You don't need to be dramatic. But you do need to be consistent. The shift comes not in a single moment, but in the habit of showing up and speaking life over your situation, especially when you feel like everything around you is falling apart. That's when it counts the most. Because anyone can speak faith when everything is going well. But it takes real courage to speak abundance when your bank account says otherwise. That's where the breakthrough begins. There is a unique power that comes when you speak specific declarations over your finances. It's not magic, it's alignment. It's saying, "I will not let what I see limit what I believe." It's deciding that your words will shape your world instead of letting your world shape your words. And let me tell you something. The moment you open your mouth with conviction, something in the atmosphere begins to respond. You may not see it right away, but it's happening. Invisible forces start moving. Resources begin aligning, connections start forming, and over time, what once looked like a dead end suddenly opens up into a new path you didn't even know existed. This is not about trying to manipulate a result. It's not about forcing a miracle. It's about aligning your mouth with the future you desire. So many people wait until something good happens before they start speaking positively. But the secret is to flip that. Speak it first. Speak it while it's still dark. Speak it while you're still in debt. Speak it while nothing seems to be moving, because that's what unlocks the shift. When you speak with boldness in the middle of your struggle, you are sending a clear message. I'm not giving up. I'm not backing down. I'm expecting something to change. And let me be honest, it won't always feel natural at first. You'll want to go back to the same old negative phrases. You'll hear that inner voice whisper, "It's not working." But that's when you push back harder. That's when you double down on the declarations. Because just like exercise builds your physical strength, speaking with authority builds your spiritual muscle. Every time you open your mouth and declare financial increase, every time you speak favor over your life, you are lifting something inside of you. You are stepping into alignment with a greater plan. Even when things seem stuck, you can still speak. Even when the bills are due and you don't know where the money will come from, you can still speak. And that is where your power lies, not in what's happening around you, but in what you decide to say in response to it. The world may try to convince you that your voice doesn't matter, that your words are just noise. But deep down you know better. You know that the words you speak are shaping your tomorrow. So here's what I want to remind you today. Don't be silent. Don't let doubt shut your mouth. Don't let fear steal your voice. Open your mouth with boldness and speak as if your future depends on it, because it does. Everything changes when you speak with authority. Every breakthrough begins with clarity. And sometimes all it takes is finding the right words to unlock what's been stuck for far too long. That's where this specific declaration comes in, not just any words, but words that have been spoken by countless people before you, who have seen their situations turn around when they chose to believe in something greater than their circumstances. There's something about these words that carry weight, that cut through confusion and bring clarity to chaos. When spoken daily with expectation, they start to create space for possibility, space for peace, and space for provision. What makes this particular declaration so powerful isn't that it magically changes things overnight. It's powerful because it trains your mind to stop settling for less. It forces you to remember that you are not meant to struggle endlessly. These words begin to dig up old thinking, the kind that says you'll always be behind, that nothing ever works out for you, that lack is just a part of your story. That mindset has to go, and this is the kind of daily reset that pushes it out. When you speak this over your life, you're not just hoping something will shift. You're speaking as though it already has. That's the difference. That's where transformation begins. Most people wait to see a change before they speak differently. But real power comes when you flip that pattern on its head. You speak differently first, and then the change follows. It's like planting a seed. You don't see the result right away, but the moment you put it in the ground, something is already happening underneath the surface. These words, this declaration, it's not complicated. It's not long, but it's full of life. It says, I lack nothing. It says, my needs are met. It says, I walk in abundance, not because of what I have, but because of who I'm becoming. The more you speak it, the more it begins to reshape the way you think about money, opportunity, and even your own worth. Because let's face it, financial struggle isn't always about the numbers. Sometimes it's about what you believe you deserve. And if you've been told for years that you're not worthy of more, this declaration is the daily reminder that those old beliefs are lies. This daily practice becomes a habit of positioning yourself for favor. Even when you don't feel favored, even when you don't see the doors opening yet, it's about standing in a place of expectation and saying, I'm preparing for overflow even in the middle of what looks like drought. It doesn't make sense at first, but faith rarely does. There's something powerful about waking up and speaking with intention before you even check your messages or your bank balance. Speaking it before you see it is what builds the road to walk into it. People will call it foolish. They'll say you're being unrealistic. They'll remind you of everything that isn't working. But that's because they haven't seen what you've seen. They haven't felt that inner nudge, that pull to believe that more is possible. So let them talk. You've got a new rhythm now, a new declaration, a new focus. Every time you speak it, something gets a little lighter. Every time you repeat it, something shifts just a little more. And it might take time, yes, but over time, the compounding power of your words will start to leave a trail of evidence. You'll notice things lining up in ways they didn't before. People calling with opportunities. Discounts showing up. Ideas flowing more freely. All of that is connected to the posture you've taken. not one of begging or waiting, but one of boldness, one of confident declaration. This isn't just about financial gain. It's deeper. It's about learning to see yourself as someone who is worthy of increase, worthy of ease, worthy of receiving without always having to fight for it. And it starts with words, simple, focused, repeated until they don't just come out of your mouth. They live in your bones. So if you've ever felt like things just don't seem to shift for you, maybe it's not because you're doing something wrong. Maybe it's because you haven't been speaking with clarity yet. This declaration offers that clarity. It clears out the noise. It gives you something to stand on when everything around you feels unstable. And if you'll make it a habit, a part of your everyday rhythm, it will begin to build a new structure for your life. One that's rooted not in fear, but in favor. You don't have to see the finish line to start speaking like you've already crossed it. Speak it daily, and let your words lead the way. It's easy to speak positively when things are already going your way. When money's flowing, when doors are opening, when the opportunities are lining up perfectly, that's when most people feel comfortable talking about success, breakthrough, and abundance. But the real test, the real proof of where your belief stands, comes when nothing looks like it's working. That's where faith begins, not when you see the results, but when you declare them in advance. When your current situation doesn't match your vision, but you speak it anyway. This is the faith principle. Speaking before you see, acting as if it's already yours, not because you're trying to trick yourself, but because you understand that change doesn't start outside of you. It starts within, and the quickest way to activate that internal change is through your words. You can have a brilliant idea, a strong desire, or even a clear plan. But if your words contradict your vision, it will never take root. Your words are the bridge between what you believe and what you eventually experience. Think about this. Every major shift in your life probably started with a decision, but that decision wasn't truly real until you spoke it. Maybe you told someone, maybe you wrote it down, maybe you said it out loud in your room when no one else was listening. But the moment you voiced it, something started moving. That's because speaking is creating. And when it comes to money miracles, you don't wait for things to improve before you open your mouth. You open your mouth so that things can improve. It's counterintuitive. Everything around you may be screaming that things are getting worse. You may feel pressure piling up, bills due, accounts low, ideas failing, and yet this is the moment to speak the loudest. Not in volume, but in conviction. Speak from a place of certainty, even when you feel unsure. That's what makes faith such a powerful force. It chooses to act as if the answer has already arrived, even when there's no trace of it in sight. Most people get stuck because they wait to feel something before they say something. But that's not how momentum is built. Emotion follows motion. You have to speak life into your finances even when it feels lifeless. You have to declare provision even when you feel stretched thin, and you do it daily, not just when you're inspired or hopeful, but especially when you're tired, discouraged, or uncertain, because consistency speaks louder than circumstances. And here's the secret most never tell you. You don't need to feel full of faith to start. You just need to be willing to speak it anyway. Sometimes the words will come out shaky. Sometimes you'll feel like you're pretending. But over time, your words will begin to train your mind to believe again. It's like building a muscle, one rep at a time, one phrase at a time, one declaration at a time. And what happens as you do this is subtle at first. You'll notice a little more confidence in how you handle challenges. You'll make better decisions with your money. You'll feel less reactive and more focused. It won't be magic, it'll be momentum. Your words will begin to steer your actions. And your actions will start opening doors that used to stay closed. This is why speaking before you see is so vital. It creates alignment. When your language matches your desired future, it draws that future closer. When your mouth says, "I'm always behind," your mind finds reasons to believe it. But when you start saying, "I'm walking into increase," your perspective shifts. You start noticing opportunities instead of obstacles. You respond differently. You carry yourself with expectation instead of anxiety. You're not waiting on a sign to speak. You are the sign. Your words are the shift. Your declaration is the spark. Don't underestimate how powerful it is to speak light into your darkest season. That one moment, that one phrase, spoken with grit and consistency, can become the turning point. So what should you speak? Speak what builds you up. Speak what reminds you that you are not meant to live in constant lack. Speak the kind of words that feel too big for your current reality, because growth always starts uncomfortable. And speak them daily, not just in moments of crisis, because habits shape reality, not hype. If you only speak when you're desperate, you stay trapped in cycles of survival. But when you speak from vision, you step into cycles of overflow. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about refusing to let your current conditions silence your future. You may not have all the answers today, but you have a voice. Use it. Speak it before you see it. And let your words go to work on the future you've been waiting for. The truth is, anyone can do something once. Anyone can get inspired by a moment of hope, say a few good words, feel a spark, and then move on like nothing happened. But real change doesn't come from what you do occasionally. It comes from what you do consistently. And if there's one thing that separates people who experience breakthrough from those who just wish for it, it's this daily discipline. Not once in a while, not when emotions are high, but every single day showing up and speaking with intention. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being persistent. It's about saying, no matter how I feel, no matter what today looks like, I'm going to declare something powerful over my life today. That kind of rhythm builds resilience. That kind of rhythm invites momentum. And when momentum shows up, favor follows. Most people are waiting for something big to happen before they start committing. They want to see a check show up, or an opportunity land in their lap, or someone come along with the solution. But favor doesn't show up when you're standing still. It moves with motion. And that motion begins the moment you choose to build a pattern that your future can depend on. Speaking the same powerful words every day might sound simple, but simple doesn't mean shallow. There's deep strength in repetition. Think of it like water hitting rock. One drop won't do much, but repeated, steady drops over time, day after day, can break through stone. That's what happens when you keep declaring truth over your finances. Even when it looks like nothing's changing on the surface, something is happening underneath. You're wearing down doubt. You're weakening fear. You're breaking through lack. And over time, that consistency becomes more than a habit. It becomes your identity. You're no longer just someone trying to change your situation. You become someone who speaks life as a way of living. It becomes part of how you think, how you speak, how you act. And when your words and your life start walking in the same direction, that's when things really start to shift. It's not glamorous. No one's watching you at 6 a.m. when you speak those words out loud. No one's clapping for you when you make that choice again on a difficult day. But those quiet moments, they matter. They're the bricks that build a foundation strong enough to hold the favor that's coming your way. Daily consistency rewires your thinking. It breaks old cycles. It makes space for something new to take root. And because you're not relying on circumstances to decide what you'll say, you become stronger than your situation. You're not being pulled in every direction by fear or doubt or lack. You're anchored by a rhythm that says, I know who I am, I know where I'm headed, and I know that favor is finding me because I'm preparing for it. And preparation is everything. People think favor just shows up and surprises you one day, but more often it comes quietly into the life of someone who was ready for it, someone who had the mindset to recognize it, someone who had already been speaking it into existence for weeks, months, even years. That's what this daily practice does. It gets you ready, it clears space, it builds a mindset that can handle blessing without being overwhelmed by it. Because here's the truth, favor without foundation can feel like chaos. If you're not ready for the blessing, it can actually become a burden. But when you've been speaking increase every day, when you've been preparing for breakthrough daily, when you've trained your mouth and your mind to stay in alignment, you can step into blessing with confidence. You're not shocked by it. You're not shrinking from it. You're ready. So don't underestimate the power of the small things. Don't discount the 5 minutes you take each morning to declare abundance. Don't think the quiet consistency isn't working just because it's not flashy. Quiet work produces loud results, and when favor finally finds you, and it'll land on someone who didn't just hope for it, but someone who expected it, someone who spoke it, someone who showed up for it every single day, and that person is you. Consistency isn't glamorous, but it's where the favor flows.